This presentation examines the structural, technological, economic, and policy dimensions of renewable energy resource adequacy planning in India, specifically in the context of achieving renewable purchase obligation targets. Renewable purchase obligations represent a regulatory mechanism that compels electricity distribution companies and large electricity consumers to procure a minimum share of electricity from renewable sources such as solar, wind, hydroelectricity, and bioenergy systems. The significance of RPO extends beyond regulatory compliance and enters the domain of strategic economic transformation, energy security, infrastructure modernization, and climate mitigation commitments. This discussion presented here evaluates the scale of capacity expansion required, the structural heterogeneity across Indian states in renewable resource availability, and the institutional challenges associated with Greek integration and policy enforcement. The analysis reflects current policy trajectory, targets extended to 2030, and evaluates the role of interstate electricity trade and storage technologies in ensuring reliable, renewable energy integration into the national electricity system. Background and context: India's electricity demand is expected to grow significantly due to rapid urbanization, population growth, industrial expansion, electrification of transport systems, and rising living standards. The country must therefore increase electricity generation capacity at a scale that sustains economic growth while minimizing environmental damage associated with fossil fuel consumption. Historically, India's electricity generation portfolio has been dominated by coal-based thermal power plants, which contribute significantly to greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. International climate agreements and domestic policy commitments require India to transition towards a low carbon development pathway that reduces emission intensity without constraining economic expansion. Renewable energy sources such as solar and wind have experienced rapid cost reductions in recent years, making them increasingly competitive with conventional power generation technologies. However, renewable energy sources exhibit intermittency and variability, creating technical challenges for grid stability. Renewable Purchase Obligation operates as a regulatory demand creation mechanism that ensure continuous investment in renewable energy generation capacity while reducing dependence on fossil fuels. The policy integrates environmental objectives with economic incentives, thereby creating a structural pathway for long-term transformation of the electricity sector. What is Renewable Purchase Obligations or RPO? Renewable Purchase Obligation is a policy instrument used to ensure that a defined portion of electricity consumed within an economy originates from renewable sources. The obligation applies to electricity distribution companies, captive power producers, open access consumers who must either generate renewable electricity internally or procure renewable electricity from independent power producers. The policy creates guaranteed market demand for renewable electricity, thereby encouraging private sector investment in renewable generation infrastructure. RPO compliance mechanisms typically include renewable energy certificates, which allow entities to purchase credits representing renewable energy generation, which, when direct procurement isn't feasible, by mandating minimum procurement levels, policymakers mitigate investment risks and reduce uncertainty associated with renewable energy market development. The RPO framework also contributes to diversification of energy supply sources, reducing exposure to volatility in global fossil fuel markets. Over time, increased renewable deployment leads to technological learning effects, economies of scale, and further cost reductions, creating positive feedback loops that accelerate energy transition. RPO targets and trajectory. The trajectory of renewable purchase obligations in India reflects gradual escalation of renewable electricity procurement requirements over time. The progressive increase from approximately 24.3% renewable procurement share in 2023 to approximately 43.3% by 2030 represents a long-term commitment to structural transformation of the electricity generation mix. Such gradual scaling allows electricity markets and infrastructure systems to adapt incrementally while avoiding abrupt disruptions. Policymakers must balance ambition with feasibility to ensure that targets remain achievable while existing institutional and technological constraints. The trajectory includes differentiated targets across renewable energy technologies such as solar, wind, hydroelectricity, and bioenergy generation. The diversification of renewable energy sources enhances reliability by reducing dependency on a single generation technology. Solar energy exhibits strong daytime generation characteristics, while wind energy often demonstrates complementary seasonal patterns. Hydropower provides relatively stable output levels, contributing to baseload capacity stability. Bioenergy provides dispatchable generation capability, improving operational flexibility. The integrated design of RPO targets therefore supports both environmental and engineering objectives. Importance of resource adequacy planning. Resource adequacy planning refers to the process of ensuring that sufficient electricity generation capacity exists to reliably meet demand under varying conditions, including seasonal demand fluctuations, unexpected outage, and variability in renewable energy output. Traditional electricity systems relied on dispatchable fossil fuel generators capable of adjusting output in response to demand variations. Renewable energy introduces structural uncertainty because solar generation depends on daylight availability and cloud cover. While wind generation depends on atmospheric conditions, the variability of renewable output requires electricity planners to incorporate probabilistic modeling techniques that estimate expected generation patterns across different time periods. Adequacy planning must consider technical potential, geographic distribution of resources, transmission network constraints, storage availability, and system balancing requirements. Failure to adequately plan resource capacity can lead to reliability issues, increased electricity prices, and underutilization of installed infrastructure. Resource adequacy planning therefore represents a core analytical component of renewable energy policy implementation. Renewable energy potential across states. India exhibits significant geographic heterogeneity in renewable energy resource availability. Social irradiation intensity varies across regions depending on latitude, cloud cover patterns, and atmospheric conditions. Western states such as Rajasthan and Gujarat exhibit high solar potential due to favorable climate conditions and availability of large land areas suitable for solar installation. Wind energy potential is concentrated in coastal regions and states with favorable wind velocity distributions. Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and Karnataka demonstrate strong wind resource availability. Hydroelectric hydroelectric generation depends on river systems and elevation gradients, resulting in concentration of hydro potential in Himalayan and northeastern regions. Biomass energy potential depends on agricultural activity and availability of organic feedback stocks. The uneven distribution of renewable resource implies that not all states possess sufficient internal capacity to meet RPO targets independently. Consequently, coordinated national planning becomes necessary to optimize allocation of renewable energy capacity across regions. Installed capacity requirements. Achieving RPO targets require large-scale expansion of renewable energy generation capacity within a relatively compressed time horizon. The estimated requirement of approximately 517 gigawatts of renewable energy installed capacity by 2030 represents a substantial increase from approximately 117 gigawatts installed capacity available in 2023. This implies that India must install approximately 340 gigawatts of additional renewable capacity within a period of approximately 7 years. Such rapid expansion requires mobilization of financial capital, manufacturing capacity, skilled labor, and project development expertise. Solar photovoltaic technology is expected to account with the largest share of capacity expansion due to declining costs and scalability advantages. Wind energy expansion contributes diversification benefits and improves generation profile stability. Hydropower expansion provides dispatchable generation capacity and storage potential through Pumped hydro systems. Bioenergy contributes localized energy capacity, particularly in agricultural regions. The scale of required capacity expansion necessitates coordinated action across public and private sectors. Slide 8. Mixed technology requirements. A balanced renewable energy portfolio improves system reliability and reduces dependency on any single power generation technology. Solar photovoltaic technology is expected to contribute more than 330 gigawatts of installed capacity by 2030 due to cost competitiveness and rapid deployment potential. Wind energy contributes complementary generation patterns that particularly offset solar intermittency. Hydroelectric generation contributes rigid stability and supports frequency regulations. Bioenergy systems contribute dispatchable generation capacity capable of operating independently of weather conditions. Diversification across technologies reduces systematic risks associated with weather variability and improves long-term sustainability of electricity supply. Technology mix decisions must consider lifestyle costs, land use requirements, transmission infrastructure compatibility, environmental impacts, and financial availability. Hybrid renewable energy systems combining solar, wind, and storage technologies represent emerging solutions capable of providing more stable output profiles. Regional disparities in renewable resource availability creates imbalance between states capable of meeting RPO targets internally and states requiring external procurement of renewable energy. Southern states demonstrate relatively strong renewable capacity availability due to favorable climatic and geographic conditions. In contrast, certain northern and eastern states exhibit limited renewable potential due to land constraints, solar lower solar irradiation levels, or weaker wind resource availability. These states must procure renewable energy from resource-rich states through interstate power purchase agreements. Such procurement arrangements must require development of transmission corridors capable of transporting electricity across long distances with minimal losses. Regional imbalances also create opportunities for specialized renewable energy generation clusters optimized for resource efficiency. Concentration of renewable energy in resource-rich areas reduces overall systematic costs compared to uniform distribution of renewable capacity across all states. The role of interstate electricity trade. Interstate electricity trade represents a critical mechanism for balancing supply and demand across regions with heterogeneous resource availability. Electricity marks Electricity markets allow surplus generation capacity in resource-rich states to supply electricity to deficit states through interconnected transmission networks. Transmission infrastructure therefore becomes a strategic asset enabling efficient integration of renewable energy resources at a national level. High voltage transmission corridors reduce energy losses and facilitate long distance electricity transport. Market based electricity trading mechanisms improve price discovery and resource allocation efficiency. Regional electricity markets contribute to improved system reliability by diversifying supply sources. Increased interconnection capacity reduces vulnerability to localized weather events affecting renewable energy outputs. Cross border electricity trade mechanisms may also emerge as regional renewable integration expands across South Asia. Role of energy storage. Energy storage technologies enable electricity systems to manage temporal mismatch between renewable energy output and electricity demand patterns. Solar energy generation peaks during midday hours, while electricity demand often peaks during evening periods. Wind generation patterns may depend on seasonal wind velocity distribution. Storage systems capture excess electricity generation during high production periods, releasing electricity during periods of high demand. Battery energy storage systems provide fast response capabilities suitable for frequent regulation and short duration balancing. Pumped hydro storage systems provide long duration storage capacity suitable for daily and seasonal balancing requirements. Emerging technologies, including hydrogen storage and thermal storage, may further enhance long-term renewable integration potential. Storage infrastructure reduces renewable energy curtailment, and improves utilization efficiency of installed generation capacity. Implementation of renewable purchase obligation faces several structural challenges, including financial stress in electricity distribution companies, regulatory uncertainty, infrastructure constraints, and technological limitations. Many electricity distribution companies operate under financial deficits due to cross-subsidization pricing strategies and operational inefficiencies. Financial constraints limit their ability to enter long-term renewable power purchase agreements. Transmission infrastructure expansion requires significant capital investment and coordination across multiple administrative jurisdictions. Renewable generation variability introduces complexity in grid operation, requiring advanced forecasting systems and digital monitoring technologies. Policy uncertainty increases investment risks and raises cost of capital for renewable energy developers. Institutional capacity constraints may delay project approvals and regulatory compliance efforts. Addressing these challenges require integrated policy reforms across financial, regulatory, and technological domains. Investment in renewable energy infrastructure generates positive economic spillover effects across multiple sectors, including manufacturing, engineering services, construction, logistics, and maintenance operators. Renewable energy deployment reduces dependence on imported fossil fuels, thereby improving national security and reducing national energy security and reducing exposure to global commodity price fluctuations. Domestic manufacturing of renewable energy components contributes to industrial diversification and technological capacity development. Renewable energy expansion supports rural economic development through land leasing arrangements and employment generation. Reduced air pollution improves public health outcome and reduces healthcare expenditure burdens. Long-term transition towards low-carbon energy system enhances resilience of economic systems against regulatory risks associated with international climate agreements. Renewable energy investment therefore contributes to environmental stability and macroeconomic stability. Policy implications. Effective implementation of renewable purchase obligations requires strengthening of regulatory enforcement mechanisms to ensure compliance by obligated entities. Penalty structures for non-compliance may increase adherence to procurement targets. Financial restructuring of electricity distribution companies may improve procurement capacity and reduce payment delays, affecting renewable energy developers. Investment in transmission infrastructure enables sufficient electricity trade between regions with surplus and deficit renewable capacity. Policy coordination between central and state regulatory bodies improves planning efficiency and reduces duplication of effort. Transparent procurement mechanism enhances investors' confidence and reduces financial costs. Long-term policy stability encourages strategic investment planning and reduces uncertainty associated with regulatory changes. Slide 15. Conclusion. Renewable purchase obligations represent a central policy instrument supporting India's transition towards a low-carbon electricity system. Achieving RPO targets require coordinated expansion of renewable energy capacity, transmission infrastructure, and energy storage systems. Resource adequacy planning ensures reliable electricity supply while accommodating variability associated with renewable energy generation technologies. Successful implementation of RPO framework contributes to a long-term energy security, economic resilience, and environmental sustainability. The scale of infrastructure investment required indicates that renewable energy transition represents one of the largest structural transformations in modern economic history. Strategic policy design, technological innovation, and institutional coordination will determine the effectiveness of renewable integration with national electricity system. Lastly, thank you so much for your time and attention. The presentation was presented by Protiyai Chaudhary.